ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Retro Gaming with Hopper, and as always, thank you for watching. Today we're going to get started on the inside of the back box on this 1980 Williams Scorpion. If you haven't watched the first two episodes, what are you waiting for? I'll put the first one right up here, right there, and check them out and see what it was like when I first got it in and what I've done so far, which is not a whole lot, but we're getting started on it. So today, like I said, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over all the boards in the back box. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the power supply out of it and reflow all my connectors. Make sure those are all okay. And the main one going in. These ones go to the MPU, and then the soundboard comes over. And these ones go down to the driver board. Now, if you watched the first one, we had notes on this that were left inside the machine that it does work. There was just some issues that they were having with it. So I have the cap kit ordered for the power supply, but right now we're going to go on the assumption that it's working okay. We may check some voltages once I get it put in, and then after that one, then we'll go to the soundboard, then to the driver board, and then up to the MPU. We'll get all those checked out first. We'll get everything all reflowed and make sure everything's okay before we turn it on. I just like to make sure that everything looks okay. There's no burnt marks or anything on the backs of the boards, or anything that looks suspicious. Reflow all the connectors, make sure they're all okay, and that way we have a better chance of it working when we do get to turn it on. Now, like I said, this is a System 6 Williams, not a 6A, just a System 6. Same MPU and setup as Gorgar. So it's a pretty common system for the older Williams machines. So we won't have any problems finding anything in there if we do run into a problem. So let's stop the bull crapping and let's get to work, and let me pull that power supply board out of there, and we'll get it checked out and see if we find anything on it. Okay, the board looks really clean. Looked like somebody had already reflowed them on here, but I went ahead and did them again because there was a couple that were kind of questionable that I didn't really need to show you what it just looked like there was just some solder on one side and not completely soldered down, so I went ahead and just touched them all up again. Now on the front side of this, I did see a couple of spots, a couple of the terminals that are kind of black, like maybe there was some heat coming through them quite a bit. Like you can see, that one right there is really dark. So we'll clean that. We'll clean all the contacts, all the pins up. And there's another one right there that's pretty dark. We'll get them all cleaned up, and then we'll get it put back in, and should be all right here. So I'll get them cleaned up, and then we'll get it put back in and get the soundboard out. Okay, we got our soundboard. Yeah, it's clean. Got our sound ROM. How do I know that? Because it says right on there, sound ROM. And the back of it, same thing, clean. This one has not been reflowed or anything. So what we're going to do on this one is we're going to change all the caps. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll get those 6 changed out to new, and hopefully that'll take care of the, if there's any sound issues, that will take care of it. So let's get started on getting this board ready to go back in. If I run across anything unusual or problematic, we'll come back and I'll show you. Okay, again, nothing out of the ordinary. New cap kit in it. And we reflowed all the connectors. Really nice clean board. Nothing out of the ordinary. Everything looks good. So I think we're okay with our soundboard now too. The switch, I'm not sure. I'll look it up and let you know when we come back. And we have another little pot here. One of them is to make the sound closer or further apart. I can't think of the name of it. I know what it does. You know, if it goes bing, 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 you can adjust it so it goes bing, bing, bing. I know somebody in the comments will tell me what that is. But yeah, that's what one of those pots are. The switch, I'm not sure. It might be to turn the sound card on or off. I'll look it up. Like I said, I don't know all the details and all the specific terms and all that of what's on the board. I just know what to check and what to change if things are wrong. You know, I can test everything and change bad parts out. I don't know technical terms and all that. So we'll get this put in and get to the driver board. Okay, on that driver board, I was just looking at that and was thinking to myself, okay, I was going to start taking them off across the bottom, and you could very easily get these screwed up as to the order that they go on. So what you should do is you make a little note to yourself. This is the bottom, right to left, starting with the blue. And just write your colors down: blue, yellow, black, red, gray. And then on the other side, right there, same thing. You could get a couple of those screwed up and put them in the wrong place. So over there we have top to bottom: orange, blue, gray, black, brown. So you know exactly. And then the other side, there's only 2, but you could get those 2 screwed up. So right side top, green, white. Green. Let me get you, there we go. Yep, see, green and white. So, you know, just to make things easier on yourself, so you're not trying to think back when you were taking it off. You may get busy. You may take this all off. Okay, I remember where all those go, and you put it on the bench, and then the next thing you know, you're gone for a day. You come back and you look at this and you're like, yeah. Then you have to dig out the schematics. But this way, just write the stuff down. Write it down. And you'll easily put it all back together. So I'll get this unhooked and get this out, and we'll take a look at it once it's out. Another thing I was thinking about on this soundboard is, okay, if it's the same as Gorgar was the first talking machine. So if this has the same soundboard as Gorgar, this should have speech. Very interesting. So we'll see. And another thing, I've always hated these type of connectors. You know, it's a friction fit wire. You just jam the wire down in there, and those little, I don't know if you can really see them down in there, I'm sure you've looked at these before, but if not, it's like a fork on two sides, and what you do is you just jam the wire down in there and you push it in. It cuts the insulation and makes contact with the wire itself. There's those stupid connectors that those blue connectors that you squeeze together, and it does the same thing, and those have always been a problem. After being in for a while, I don't know, they seem to lose connection, but hopefully these are alright. If not, then we're going to be changing a bunch of connectors. Another piece of advice on these connectors: don't grab them by the wires to pull them out. You know, they're supposed to have this black thing on them, but over time they've come off. Take a little screwdriver. You can see on this one there's a lock on the back side of it. If you release that lock with a little screwdriver, just kind of lift it up a little bit and that connector will come right off. Just to make it easier on yourself, so you're not jerking wires out. Okay, now we got our driver board out, and just a quick inspection. Somebody put a brand new through the board connector on this. The driver board plugs directly onto the MPU. The MPU has the connectors like this sticking out of it, and this just pushes and plugs right into it. And this board has been reworked probably more than once, which is fine. See, we have some of our MOSFETs have been changed. There's about 3 of them here. This is the solenoid driver area, and this will be our lamps. Might be back-asswards, but no, usually with the big resistors is your solenoid driver side, and over here is your lamps. On this one, when you turn them on and when they're sitting idle, the lights just don't stay on, and they flash and, you know, run different programs, and different lights come on and that. So that's what this is. There's the relay. But yeah, that's what the lamps do on this. You know, you may have lights that run up on either side, and then they flash here and up top and just do different things throughout the playing field while it's sitting idle to kind of catch your attention so you'll come and play. And everything on the back side of this, you can see the one chip has been changed. They tore a pad off. You can see right there. They tore a pad off and had to bridge it, which is fine. That, you know, those little chips they can be difficult to take off. You know, there's been quite a bit of stuff changed on this. There's been a lot of the MOSFETs, and it's been reflowed. A little bit of heat through here. That's those big resistors. The only thing I question is, if you're going to change one of these chips, why not put a socket in it so it's easier if it goes bad again for somebody else to change? Just makes more sense. Then you're not putting a lot of heat on that chip when you're changing it and putting it back in. If you just put a socket in it, then you can just snap it back in. But I'll go ahead and go over all these connectors again. Just because they look good doesn't mean that they are. So we'll reflow all them, and this board will be ready to go back in. Okay, got all the connectors reflowed, and I guess I should tell you why I'm reflowing them. Over time, from vibration or just from people pulling them on and off, the pin will crack the solder around it, and it's what we call a cold solder joint. I did see one in here. It was right down here. There was the third pin in, was a cold solder joint. And like I said, it's just from people pulling the connector on and off. It's always the end ones that usually catch the most, because that's you know, when you're pulling them off, you kind of jerk them off to the side a little bit, and what happens is the pin comes loose from the solder, and it's a cold solder joint. So what you do is you just go through and resolder them all. Just reflow them while you have the board out. That's just one thing that you don't have to worry about, is that it's, you know, that you have a cold solder joint. Now before I put this in, I'm going to test all of our MOSFETs, transistors, whatever you want to call them. I don't care. I'm going to go through and test all of these and see if I have anything bad. Now on testing them's really easy. Let me see if I can get this one-handed. Okay, we'll get these turned over. Where's these ones at? Looks like, yeah, those three right there. Those three. Comes down. Let's see, you got the three. There's the three. Yeah, there they are. There's these three, or those first sets of three. What you do is you take your tester. This is going to be fun one-handed. Set it on diode test. Now I'm sure this isn't the, oh, we're on AC. Get that around to, there we go. The diode test. Now I'm sure this isn't the way you're supposed to test them, but this is the way I test them. Is you take get your one lead and put it on your center. Let's see, it's been a while since I used chopsticks. And oh, you see we had 0.54. Okay, leave your red one on the center. Test the other side. Come on, fingers. There we go. There. Get on there. Ugh. Nope. Now, oop, that one is connected. Okay, so we'll use the outside leg, which should be the same. Let me get this figured out here for a second. This is really hard to do one-handed. I did. Okay. You test them. It should be 0.54. And all you're doing is looking to see if they're all the same or close. Come on. And the other one, 0.54. 0.54. So you have a pretty good chance that those ones are all good. Now on the other ones that there's, let's see, that should be the first, yep, that's the first set. on the other ones, what you do is you put it in the middle, and one on the outside you have nothing. So switch your leads around and put your black on the center and your red to the outside. You have 0.65. That's a little high, but still within range. Usually between like 0.4 and 0.7 they're okay. Now keep your black in the middle and test the other leg. 0.53. That one's good. What you're doing is you can go through, and if they're all about the same, then you know that they're good. If you find one that kind of zeroes out or goes up to like 8 or 9, then you know you have one that's bad, and that's the one that you change. Like I said, I'm sure somebody's going to tell me that that's not the right way to test them, but that's the way I test them, and that's how I find problems with those. And when I do find them, I just change them out, and that usually cures the problem. So I'll go through, and I'm going to test all of them, and if I find anything out of the ordinary, if I find one that's bad, I'll come back and show you a bad one. Okay folks, after testing all my transistors, I have one that's totally dead. This one right here, fourth one in, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is a TIP 42C, TIP 42C on the driver board. That's the replacement for the ones that are in here. The originals are an 89795, but the replacement is a TIP 42C. I have them ordered. I didn't have any here, unfortunately, but we can still put the board in and fire up the machine. We're just going to have a dead solenoid. So we'll get it ready to be put back in. We can't put this in until after we take out the MPU, because the MPU, let me turn that light back on. Okay, the MPU has to come out. It has to go in first, and then the solenoid board, driver board, plugs into here. And that's the through connectors that I was showing you that had been changed. So we'll take it out and check everything on it. I'm sure it's fine because somebody's already had it out, had a new NV RAM put in it. But we're going to take it out and check it just to make sure, so I know that it's been reflowed. Okay, we got our MPU out. Let's see, this should be the game chip, and that's the ROM, or RAM, whichever. I'm not real sure. This one I think's been changed because it has a socket and the other one doesn't. These 3 sockets aren't used. Nope, here's our RAM. Here's our game chips right here. That should be the processor, and that should be RAM. These 3 are not used. We got our NV RAM. That replaces the batteries, or dip switches. We have the 2 switches. These are for diagnostics. And we'll do the same thing with this. We'll clean up all the pins and reflow them. Looks like it's already been done, but just for the sake of argument, I'll do it again, just to make sure that they've been done. Looks like we got a little bit of battery acid damage. I'll clean that up. No, that's around the dip switches. That shouldn't, yeah it is. Yep. Probably just a little bit of battery acid damage. See if I can get it to focus up for you. Come on. Anyway, there's battery acid damage. We'll get that cleaned up and reflowed and everything else looks good on the board. Okay, if with the battery acid damage, if it's left unchecked, it will just continue to migrate all the way through all this. That acid just will completely just start eating everything. Looked like it had been cleaned up, but there was still some acid laying down in here, all green and starting to move up. You can see it discolored our pins right here, but I cleaned them all up. I got everything all cleaned up. I just use a brass wire brush. It's soft. Scrub it real good, wipe it down, and then I'll use contact cleaner to kind of neutralize the acid, and that should take care of it. But like I said, left unchecked, it'll start eating all these pins and contacts. It'll eat the traces and everything, and then you have a mess to clean up. So catch it as soon as you can and take care of it and get it neutralized, so you don't have to end up changing chips and, you know, putting in new traces, jumpers, and all that. But looks good now. Now we'll get the pins reflowed. Okay, I did want to note before I put this in that I did find there was 3 or 4 cold solder joints on the pins on these connectors here. They didn't look bad, but I know they're a problem. You'll have intermittent problems on the machine. Something will work for a little while and then quit, and then work for a little while and quit. That's usually what happens when you have cold solder joints. So we got that all taken care of. All those pins there, all those pins there. We cleaned up some acid damage there, and a little bit of acid damage here. How that, you know, it's really weird how that acid will migrate. Usually it'll just run right down through here and eat the whole board up, all your contacts and traces and everything. But I don't know, this one's a little different. You never know where you're going to find it. So let's get these put in, get this put in, and our driver board, and I think we're going to be ready to plug it in and turn it on and see what happens. Okay, we got everything put in it. Got all of our boards back in, all serviced, except for our driver board. We have one transistor there with or 2 that we need to change for the solenoids, and we'll get those. Once I get them in, now we can turn it on and see what happens. Aha! Got lights. Let's see what the... yeah. Even all of our score units work. I see. Oh, high score. Yeah, 800. That light right there is your high score, and it's showing that high score is 800. But hey, we got lights and we got some action out of it. It says there's 9 credits on it. Let's see what happens if you push the credit. Nothing. Okay, anyway, we got it that far. That's as far as I wanted to get it in this episode, so at least we could start tearing down the play field. We got some lights to work with, and we can clean this playing field up and touch it up. We'll work on everything electronical in a later episode when we get everything up and running. Once all the parts come in, then we'll go over that. But right now, let's get with the next episode, we're going to get the playing field all squared away. So if you like the video, hit the like button. It's right down there. Leave me a comment down below. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel. And check my affiliated links in the description. There's an Amazon down there. if you go to one of those sites and buy something, I get a small commission, and it kind of helps keep the channel going. We make a little bit, very small amount, but hey, every little bit helps, and we can keep the channel going. So that's what's going on. So until next time, see ya. Baby's got a big old butt.